The member for Solomon.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. And I would like to seek leave to table a document that has been, a story that has been sent to me regarding Generation Y on live export trail.
Is leave granted? Is leave granted?
Excuse me.
I beg your pardon.
Is leave granted to table a document?
Leave is granted.
Leave is granted.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. I'm tabling the document, but I would like to take what time I have left to talk about some of the contents of this story. Donal Sullivan and other young Territorians have just been to Indonesia and seen for themselves what's happening with our live cattle. Luke Bowen from the Northern Territory Cattlemen's Association said that this story is one real account and human story which instills confidence in our next generation of farmers who are making a go of producing food, managing vast tracts of our country and forging cultural, social and economic relationships in our region. Donal Sullivan left Jakarta with a sense of confidence and hope. She says this hope was not only for her own future, but that of her family and the Northern Australian cattle industry, an industry still in crisis. Just 18 months ago, Donal's world was about to be shattered. Donal had been working with her sisters in the cattle yards at her family's cattle station 450 kilometres south of Darwin, as the ABC's Four Corner program interviewed her dad, Rowan Sullivan, who was president of the Northern Territory Cattlemen's Association. The girls had been working cattle in the yards, joking and exchanging vibes. What was about to follow with the airing of the ABC Four Corners program was to change her life, that of her family and that of the northern industry. She says her father, as a head of an organisation whose members had the most invested and the most to lose, needed to drop everything at home in a fight for survival of an industry. She says from that night the program aired, it seemed like the whole world stopped, paused, took a turn where all they had been normal no longer existed. And in the months to follow, the family's operations struggled. Donal's mum, Sally, who had a long history in donating her time to the community, included the Isolated Children's and Parents Association, had to keep the business and family on track. Donal says Dad was in Darwin, Canberra, Indonesia, and when he was home, he was working until all hours of the night and morning, answering calls from concerned Australian cattle producers and animal activists who thought needed to know the real facts of the real story. Donal says she knows she and her siblings were shielded from much of what happened, the abusive, threatening emails, the letters, faxes and phone calls, the excuse that it gave some Australians to be bigoted and racist, to vilify cattle families, Indonesians and Muslims. And Deputy Speaker, you would know as a Member of Parliament we have been inundated with a lot of emails and some of them have just not been nice. So I guess that some of these families have been receiving these as well. Back to Donal's story. She says the ignorance yet almighty righteousness that pervaded animal activist groups, politicians, one minor political party and many other highlighted a number of geographical, cultural and information divides. Donal's family hosted 2 Indonesian students from Eastern Java as part of an 8-week agricultural exchange program. The program was such a success and the relationships that formed were so strong. 3 weeks ago, Donal set out from Darwin to go to Jakarta, and travelling with the small group of the industry's youngsters, Donal recounted the shock of being out of your depth and out of your comfort zone, the rigours of life and the resourcefulness of the Indonesians, the warmth and hospitality of her Indonesian hosts and the opportunity to experience a new culture. They visited farms, talking to farmers and understanding how a country of 240 million people goes about feeding itself, and the fact that many of the workers they met on the farms and feedlots earn about $2 a day. Donal says that she was hesitant and anxious about what she would find when they visited an Australian-accredited Bandung abattoir with the other Gen Ys. The atmosphere was tense. By the time the first animal walked up into the restraining box, some of the tension had dissipated. The facility was not at the industrial scale of the Australian equivalent, but it was quiet, calm and efficient. She says about the process, it was fast, humane and efficient. Flying back to Darwin after a week in Indonesia was the biggest part thing for her, knowing that now she knows that that there is a future. She wants to go back again and see for herself
The member's
how
time has
our...
expired.